The twin row houses that make up the left portion of the building were built by William Layman around 1854. William was born on the 4th of July in 1810. A second-generation tailor, he followed in the footsteps of his father, Frederick Layman, who emigrated from Germany and came directly to Williamsport in 1807. The first suit Frederick made in this country was for Major James Warren, and also the last suit he made was for him. Frederick finished the suit in the evening and was dead before morning. William's son, Wilson Layman, became a prominent riverboat captain. The big passenger and freight packet boats were operating 2 boats each way from Pittsburgh to Morgantown on the Monongahela River. Local passenger service was taken care of chiefly by Captain Layman, who operated the small passenger steamer Stella that was named for his daughter. The twin row houses are a good example of what Main Street architecture was like in most parts of the United States before the Civil War. The facade is perfectly symmetrical. The front wall is placed at the front edge of the lot, and the roof ridge runs parallel to this wall, so that there are gables at the sides that are now mostly hidden by the adjoining buildings. The windows are all rectangular, with prominent lines below, in the form of wood sills. There may be wood lintels over the windows, but they're concealed behind a course of brick. The walls are laid in common bond style from bricks handmade in the backyard. The eaves have almost no overhang, making the overall form a little more reminiscent of 18th century English worker row houses rather than the later American Main Street houses. Each had only 4 rooms inside, 1 room in the front and 1 in the back on each floor, plus a shed-roofed first-story kitchen at the rear. The stairway was tucked into a narrow, walled-off space next to the dining room. You had to go through 1 bedroom to get to the other. The bathroom was a privy in the backyard. Although typical of worker housing, or investment rental houses, these 2 houses were also thought of as honeymoon cottages for newly married couples. When the porch was added at a later date, bricks were taken from the cellar walls so that it would match the rest of the building. In 1890, Mrs. James Kerr employed architect John Blythe to construct a more modern addition to the Layman house. James Kerr, Esquire, was born on a farm near Finleyville in 1812. He was a former supervisor of Carroll Township and a Democratic candidate for Assembly in 1875. He died in 1889. He married Margaret Stockdale in 1847. Mrs. Kerr's 1905 obituary stated,
"It is a somewhat remarkable fact that Mrs. Kerr waved her handkerchief to the soldiers of 3 wars. First, she hailed the flying artillery of the Mexican War on their way along the pike to Cincinnati to take the boats. They stopped at the Stockdale home and were treated to milk and honey and other dainties from the farm. They offered to pay, but the kind-hearted people would take nothing, and all they asked was that God's blessing should follow the brave boys. Next came the Civil War, and Mrs. Kerr, now married, but still young, waved her blessing to the boys in blue. By the time the Spanish-American War rolled round, Father Time had changed the outward features, but not the heart of the good woman, and she smiled radiantly upon the young sons of Mars as they stepped lightly to the front."
Blythe's design uses a rectangular sash in arched openings. While Blythe had built dozens of buildings with arch-topped sash 15 years before, the style had begun to change. In this case, the space between the top of the upper sash and the arch was filled with a half-moon-shaped decorative pattern with an incised floral pattern filigree cut into it. The window proportions are also indicative of 1890, as are the fish-scale wood shingles serving as siding in the gable end. This was Blythe's last known residential commission in Monongahela. The present owner still has the original drawings and specifications done by him for the Kerr side. They were handed down by the last Kerr descendant. They are the only construction documents that have survived from John Blythe's career.